All right, all right. What's up, everybody? Hey, guys, Guy here. Welcome. It is Sunday night. 49ers just lost to the Green Bay Packers 38-10. It was not a frozen tundra. It was cold. Niners are now 5-6. Feel like 5-16. And did just enough to give you hope that they might win the game. That was the cruelest part of all, was when they made it look like they had survived the early Packers onslaught. In fact, for 2.5 quarters, it looked like 5 other games the Niners had played, except the reverse. Like the Niners had been the Packers before. Opening drive, just shing, shing. It looks like some crazy superhero movie where they're hitting, just everything is working, slashing, fighting 10 people, slashing each person, deflecting bullets. Like everything was working on that first Packers drive. And the Niners have had a million drives like that over the years. And then they come down, they score again, it's 10-0. You're like, they're going to lose 48-6 today. And then they started moving the ball. They moved the ball on offense. They actually give them another touchdown drive first. Then it's 17. And then they started. And I was like, they're not. Nah, they can't. Could they? Maybe. And the problem, they were just so crazily undisciplined. It was just crazy. It was insane. I mean, their lack of ability, like they're going to end this season, whatever happens. They're probably going to fire the special teams coach, you would think. And then Kyle's going to be on his third special teams coach in the last, 4 years. And they shouldn't go cheap on they should steal somebody else's special teams coach, find the most expensive special teams coach they can get. You know who's going to be on the street probably, because Dallas is going to get, McCarthy's going to get fired. It's going to be Bones Jones is going to be out there. Kyle's going to go hire him. Probably, actually. The special teams guru for the Cowboys, who just gets way too much power from McCarthy. And it's going to be like, hey, man, what about you? How come you guys commit a crazy amount of now, was Eric Saubert's holding penalty on Debo's 87-yard return legit? I could see what the official saw. But it's never just one. It's 6. It's crazy. They committed 9 penalties in this game. It was crazy. It was nuts. I mean, really. Like, how were they even in this thing? Playing as sloppily and undisciplined. And then the wheels came off. They had like bad pick, Debo. I don't even know what to say. Like, you have to make that catch. That's not what number 3 receivers are necessarily expected to do, but premium receivers are expected to make that catch. When I saw that pick, I thought for sure Brandon Allen missed the throw. My first reaction was, why is Brandon Allen trying to squeeze that ball in there? And then you see the replay, and it's not Brandon Allen's fault. It's, in fact, a hell of a throw from Brandon Allen. And he just didn't. I don't know. I don't know what that was. Now, I said this, and it's going to get the expected response. It's just an observation, okay? It's not an indictment of anybody. Did the ball get on him faster than he expected? Is he not used to the ball getting on him that quickly? Nobody overreact to that. I'm just asking a question. Did the ball get on him faster than expected? By the way, not acceptable. Zero excuse. The other, one thing we saw in this game too is, I know we talk about Purdy's mobility all the time, quote unquote, sneaky, whatever you want to call it. You see how valuable it is when Brandon Allen doesn't move as well as Purdy, doesn't move as well as Brock. Brady said multiple times in this game, Prize Picks code guy. That's what he said. He said, go to Prize Picks, use the code guy, make a $5 lineup, immediately get $50 into your account. You want to try it out. Thanksgiving week is a great time to try out Prize Picks, by the way. A lot of games on Thursday. A lot to watch. You got Monday nights. We got college football. NBA rebounds has been a big part of my repertoire on Prize Picks. Prize Picks code guy. I'll give you a lineup later. But Brady said multiple times, it felt like he was saying that Brandon Allen, not having played much real football, it's expected that he's not going to have the great ball control or pocket awareness or whatever. You know what? After what looked like it was going to be an avalanche, I think give Brandon Allen some credit for making some throws and hanging around in that game. There's just a limitation because I thought most people, you, me, a lot of other people probably thought 2 series into that game, get Josh Dobbs out there. Like Brandon Allen is the quarterback that you play when it's when your record's 7-2 and you need a backup quarterback to just go out there and just try to do the regular thing. And if you lose the game, but no biggie, you'll be 7-3. And then when you're in a desperate situation, what you need is Josh Dobbs, the guy who can just go make plays. And it looked like that was going to be honestly, it looked like Josh Dobbs was going to be in this game. So I do have to give, for me, at halftime, Brandon Allen was 10 of 13 for 94 yards and a touchdown. It wasn't as good as that looked. I think we can agree. But, after that early onslaught, it was like, what do you expect from this guy? He played, as crazy as this sounds, I think he played well enough to win. He got no help. Offensive line, mistakes. I'm not even going to get to the defense yet. Debo, when it was time to make a play, no. Special teams, Debo did make a play, hold. Guys slipping all over the place. This team hates playing on turf. Love playing on grass. Did they have the right cleats in? Multiple slips. Brandon Allen had one. Saubert had one in the big spot. Debo did not slip. He just didn't catch the ball. McCaffrey, I think part of this, the offensive line, obviously having Trent Williams miss the game is a significant thing. But McCaffrey he still doesn't. We're waiting for that burst. Now, I think part of it is a little misleading with Christian. He's like, he doesn't have the burst, which it doesn't look like he totally does. So I agree there. But I think part of it too is maybe the holes aren't there. This offensive line felt like a mess today. Defense is going to get, this one will go down in the box score as on the defense. They adjusted. Now it helped that Josh Jacobs ended up with a cramp or cramps and was out of the game for a little while because they were missing. They couldn't tackle that first possession, especially. But their defense, all things considered, the Niners stopped moving the ball. They stopped playing. They didn't play clean ball on offense. They turned the ball over in awful spots. The interception was bad. The fumble, the first fumble was terrible. I mean, it was just, it was a game where you just couldn't afford all those mistakes. Most games you can't. You're not going to overcome them. But this was definitely one where you just couldn't afford it. And it's crazy because they didn't quit when they could have. They didn't look like a defeated team. They looked like a team that looked up at the standings and went, you know what? The NFC West is kind of like this game. Feels hopeless, but then it's not. End of the day, they're 5-6. Go play and lose to the Bills this week. Going to be 5-7. Commanders lost. It doesn't. Sometimes this happens after a Niners loss where I have to say something that doesn't feel appropriate for now. It feels like a Monday thing, but I'll say it. It looked like 2 weeks ago, the last wild card spot in the NFC was going to be unattainable for a second team out of the NFC West. It doesn't look that way anymore because Washington is in the 8th spot right now at 7-5. And then it's the Rams, and I'm doing this before Sunday Night Football, who are 5-5. So, the Niners are going to be 5-7 after they play the Bills next Sunday night. Then they're going to play the Bears and the Rams and could be 7-7 going to the Dolphins game. And the other thing to keep an eye on is Detroit week 17. Again, nobody wants this right now. I get it, but it's just I can only say what's in my brain. We'll get to the game too. Well, don't worry. There'll be plenty of time for anger and distraughtness and giving up. But Detroit might, again, we'll see. Philly might, if you're listening to this Monday, Philly might have won. They might have lost on Sunday night. They're in second place, the NFC, as of the second. Detroit might not need to play anybody week 18. They might not need to play anybody week 17. So I'm just saying, no one wants to hear that right now because they look like ass. But that's just, I guess it's a way to explain that what you're not going to hear from me today is like a total give up on their season, given that. Now, there are just some other issues that need to be addressed in the big picture. Like, how do you stop committing penalties, not just now, but into the future? How do you get this offensive line better? And how do you stop sucking on special teams? How do you stop sucking on special teams? And the answer usually is you start acting like you care about special teams. You always go back to when they drafted Moody. And Kyle said, I hope this is the last time I have to watch special teams film for 10 years or whatever. And, as someone who values Kyle Shanahan as a coach in many aspects, I think generally the best coaches talk like they really care about special teams and they act like it. And the 49ers don't. And it is reflected. They change special teams coaches. They look the same. Maybe worse. Maybe worse. And that falls on Kyle Shanahan. It just does. And when your offense isn't great and your defense isn't great, but you still find ways to hang around, you need to make plays in the margins. Special teams, to call it in the margins is almost to denigrate it too much because so many plays involve special teams, even though it's a small percentage of your total snaps. And they don't care about it. They've never cared about it. And it doesn't matter when you're kicking everybody's ass and when your running game is the best in the league and your quarterback doesn't turn it over and you're up 2 scores in the third quarter and Nick Bosa and your defense can just tee off and rush the passer. And then the fact that you kind of shrug at special teams doesn't matter. But when you don't have a dominant team, when you do play in the margins, when the margin between winning and losing is really small, special teams matters. This last weekend, I called an Iowa-Maryland football game. And Iowa, for those of you who love college football, know they do a few things. They run the ball, they play defense, they win in November. They don't have a very good passing game historically. And yet, because they run the ball so effectively, they win a bunch. The other secret sauce to Kirk Ferentz, who's been there 23 years, is they really, really, really care about special teams. They don't go for it 4th and 3 here or 4th and 5 there. They kick field goals. And they play the wind, and their punter is good, and they play field position, and it doesn't matter if there's not a lot of possessions because they're going to do all the little things between the possessions right. And it is one of the shining examples at any level of football at how taking special teams seriously wins you close game after close game after close game. And today's a great example of, and it wasn't, and the beauty of it too, is it's like the Moody stuff is special teams, whether he's making or missing kicks, but that's often its other little category. Like special teams coaches, that's about coverage and return game. The kickers, the special teams coaches aren't the kicking experts necessarily. The kickers are off doing their own thing. The kicker, the place kicker. The off season is for later, and that'll be for draft and a bunch of other stuff. But there's got to be some level of dedication to special teams, or you pay somebody who has the ultimate level of dedication to special teams. That's part of it. But then the other part of it is when you're down Ayuk, when you're down Trent Williams, when you're down Bosa, when you're down Purdy, that's where your star players need to step up. And I'll say this. This team has been in a lot of weird situations over the years. The one person you can count on is George Kittle. But I didn't think. Yeah, that's all to say Debo had the chance to make a play today and didn't. And you can't afford to have the star players that you do have not play like stars. And he had a big return, and the double reverse flea flicker was the first good play of the game. And the first time it looked like they had some rhythm and Kyle Shanahan could counteract what Green Bay was doing. And it was only part of the puzzle for what you needed from Debo. You needed the whole thing from him. 3rd and 8. That was a really good throw from Brandon Allen. My God. 13, that opening drive for Green Bay, by the way, 13 plays, 2 third downs. And you thought this looks like the Niners. It was a Shanahan drive. LaFleur hit him with his own thing. By the way, the Packers, they are not winning the championship. You didn't just lose to like the Super Bowl champ out of the NFC. They're 7-3. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're 7-3. Yeah. Ceiling. They're capped. You did not, or 8-3, excuse me, 8-3. They're capped. Because I don't think I like Jordan Love. I don't think he's ready yet. There were, 3 turnovers out there for the 49ers to go get? Didn't happen. Now, I don't know, we'll get, he's probably talked about it. I think you could read his lips. I saw somebody in the chat. I'm having a chat screen issue today, so I am able to read your comments, but I can't put them on the screen. But I'm going to get to some of these. They had back-to-back 12 men on the field penalties. The second one's insane. The first one, I think what happened was Green Bay ran to the line of scrimmage out of the huddle with like 17 on the play clock. They did sub. I'll need to see the all 22 to know exactly when they subbed. But usually you don't see a team when the opponent tries to sub, which is what the Niners did with like 17 on the play clock. They usually don't let you snap it if the offense has subbed. So Kyle might have had a beef there, but again, I'll have to wait to see that one on the all 22. Devondre Campbell was running off and jumped, and they snapped the ball, and he didn't get it off in time. But then to get it on the next one, it just felt like the wheels were going to come off. I saw somebody in the chat say this team has given up on Shanahan since the Super Bowl. I know I don't know if it's a popular opinion. I know that is an opinion that some of you have. That is not what's happened. I don't think that's what's happened. I think it's what's happened. I don't think they've given up emotionally, physically. I thought today was a great example, was a great chance to see, like, are they about to give up and end the season? And I know the final score was 38-10. That's not what happened. Well, unfortunately, I don't think it's better or worse, but they got beat like they weren't good enough. They had chances to make plays, didn't make them with their backup QB. Do they win this game with Brock Purdy? I don't know. I can't say. I can't say yes to that, so I'd have to say no. I still think they lose that game, but maybe not. I mean, the pressure issues and the way they created pressure on Brandon Allen were a major problem. And by the way, what happened? 3rd and long, late in the game, they bring pressure. Niners don't have an answer. Trying to get the ball out on 3rd and long, quick to McCaffrey, nobody home. I see let me get to some of these super chats here. There were some bigger picture thoughts too that are not for today. Daniel Jones. I thought before the game he'd be an option. I know it's been a discussion point, so I won't be surprised. To me, his athleticism would help them. But what does Shanahan really value? And we'll see if Brock's back this week. There's a chance of it. What does Kyle really value? He values somebody who runs his system. It's part of the reason that Brandon Allen's in there, not Joshua Dobbs. So I think Joshua Dobbs, I don't think the margin's big between those two. But Brandon Allen's been with him for a long time. And then he was with Zach Taylor before that. And he was with McVay before that. So part of me be kind of surprised. It doesn't feel like a Shanahan thing to go get Daniel Jones and move him above Joshua Dobbs or Brandon Allen. Now, if he thinks Brock is going to be out, then you add Daniel Jones as another guy. And I do think, one thing that would open up the field a little bit for McCaffrey is an athletic quarterback who could run some RPOs with him. Some pistol RPOs, that sort of thing. That's what I was thinking about early in this game, was Dobbs opening the game up for McCaffrey, not as a thrower, but as a runner. And if you get Daniel Jones, then you can afford to have somebody out there running around. If you get him popped, you still got another guy. But I think that's going to be dependent on Brock. It's not going to be about, well, let's get somebody in here and move him ahead of Brandon Allen or move him ahead of Josh Dobbs. So if we wake up Monday and the Niners are signing Daniel Jones, that is a major tell on Brock. And I do here's the other thing. If you're them, and I know I got some, as expected, which is fine, doesn't bother me, some very negative reaction to going through the schedule. Guy, you're crazy. Don't you have eyes? Aren't you watching this? Yes, I am. To all of those questions. But you could see them, I know this sounds crazy, you could see them thinking, let's give Brock another week. Don't bring him back against Buffalo. Get him healthy. Then you try to beat the Dolphins. You try to beat the Bears with him healthy, and you give it a little extra time. I could see them thinking that. So, all right, let me get to some of you have thrown some cash down on the super chats. James, many problems other than the offense, but then when they were still in it, how many wasted plays, possessions from Kyle Shanahan running McCaffrey outside? For nothing. For no yards. Stop doing that. One cut and go SB JP Mason. Sub JP Mason. Sub JP Mason? Yeah, I could use a little more Jordan Mason. And I agree with some of these outs. Now, they started to hit a little bit, but how about the receiver screen? The bubble screens to McCaffrey. Where's the get McCaffrey in space thing? What did he finish with? In the first half, he was 3 carries for 4 yards. McCaffrey finished 11 for 31, which is under 3 yards a carry. 2.8. He caught 3 passes for 37 along at 23. Kittle was good. Jennings, I need to get a second look at that ball behind Jennings. I thought he should have caught it. Nicholas with a super chat. Appreciate that, Nick. Nicholas Pro. Thomas said with a super chat, thank you, says Kyle isn't the problem. The depth isn't as good and it shows in special teams. I have questions about Sorensen and his scheme. Purdy and Kyle of the future. Props for fighting, but need more finesse. That's from Thomas. Brandon says 8th highest paid team in the league before paying Purdy, and they are a joke. It's time to clean out the entire front office and the coaching staff and move on from contract. No excuses to be this bad. Well, I agree on the last line, the no excuses. Cleaning out your coaching staff and your front office, I presume you mean the head coach, would be an overreaction given recent success. In my opinion. But I agree fundamentally with, because I've seen some of this, and I think even Am I mistaken, or did Tom Brady say this too? Like, work Jordan Mason a little bit more. Fred Warner. Do you remember the way Fred Warner looked early in the season? He looked like the defensive player of the year. He looked like a lion hunting gazelles in its young athletic prime. And then he hurt his ankle, and it has significantly impacted him. And it feels like it significantly impacted them. And he's still out there playing his ass off. But it feels like Fred Warner is not out there at 100%. Leonard Floyd showed up today. Yeah. I think what's frustrating is I said that'd be a 50-50 game. It felt like a 50-50 game before Purdy was hurt. Purdy gets hurt. It's not a 50-50 game anymore. The game starts, it looks like a 90-10 game. Then you get it to like a 60-40 situation, and you just can't pull yourself up off the mat enough. And that's what's been so bizarre about this year is they just can't stack up like 3 straight. I can't get over how disgustingly undisciplined this team was on penalties today. Comment from Kathy: can Kyle be demoted to offensive coordinator? Hire Jerry Rice as head coach. Be tough because every player would be required to run around with a can of goat juice in their hands. So Kyle would scheme up a play, but then like Kittle's holding a can of goat juice and he's got to be tough. Sure, Miss Dre Greenlaw. Yeah. This just isn't our year. LOL. Says Andres. Comment from Max: Jordan Mason looks faster than McCaffrey. Fred looks like a guy who's up with an infant half the night. You know, historically, and I see a comment here from Matthew, never established a run game. Mason was 3 carries, 2.7. Christian. So the running backs, were, how many, what did they do today here? Combined. Where'd this go? I just had it. Sorry. The running backs were 14 carries for 39 yards. 14 for 39. I mean, Josh Jacobs had 26 by himself. Josh Jacobs finished at 4.1 yards per carry. That felt like 7. Like you look up and some of the stats do not indicate how dominant at times the Packers felt. You know what Jordan Love was today? If I told you before the game, Jordan Love was going to be 13 of 23. Now, 3 of those were the end of the first half YOLO balls, and they should have hit one of them. Like, you can't say the Niners catch no breaks because that's how it feels sometimes. And then Christian Watson drops a touchdown. Oh my God. By the way, what went through your body when you saw Brandon Allen drop back and go deep ball? I hadn't seen one of those in forever. Chris Conley. I actually think Conley had a beef on an interference that he got pushed down. And I talked about this with John Dickinson a little bit. And I know Greg Papa says Brandon Allen's got a good arm. I thought his arm looked better today than it looked when I'd watched him in practice. His arm was better than I thought, actually, especially kind of in the cold. His arm was better than I thought. I know Brady made a comment about, California boys in the cold, that sort of thing. And he could say it. I mean, he is one. But that deep ball did not have a real chance to hit. I mean, he threw it. Chris Conley's looking over this shoulder. And I had to turn back over the other shoulder. Jordan Love, 13, despite that, which should have been a deep touchdown, so call it, he would have been like 14 to 22. And instead of 160, would have been at 200 or whatever. Still, it's 56%, 7 yards per attempt, sacked twice, had a fumble that he recovered. Niners could have intercepted him twice, did intercept him once, and I do think Shanahan had beef on the interception. The Malik Mustafa picked him off the end zone, 12 men on the field. Shanahan's beef was, you didn't give us time to sub, and that's why we had too many men. It wasn't like the next time, which was egregious, where they just couldn't count that they had 12 guys on the field. That time they knew they were just subbing. That's why it was a 12-man penalty. So Love should have had at least one pick, could have had like 2 or 3. So you didn't lose. Like that's what's frustrating. Well, 10 things are frustrating. $13 to 23. I mean, if you told me that line and the Brandon Allen 17 to 29, and then just shown me a photo of the ball that he threw to Debo, like before it hits Debo's hands with 3 defenders around him, I'd be like, oh, Brandon Allen balling today. By the way, thanks to Matthew for being here, because Matthew's running a legit restaurant. You know, I love Puesto. I also love Matthew's place, Pink Onion. Haven't been there in a while. I think he's still got the ham pod pie on the menu, which is that spicy sausage, pepperoni, and jalapenos, I believe. Is the Jimmy G still on the menu, Matt? Pink Onion. The pizza's really good. The desserts are very good. Salad, pasta. A lot of lock in, Debo. Hey, lock in. Lock in. Yeah. Yeah. Did anyone go to Tabor Pepper's locker post game? Kevin says Christian had 11 carries for 31. Mason had 1 for 16. McCaffrey doesn't look like he got his timing down or reading holes. Why is Kyle playing him at this level? It just seems insane. You know, I have Mason 3 carries for 8 yards, not 1 for 16. He had a 16-yard carry. So, where did he lose the yardage? Anyway, I'm okay playing. Like Christian, you should be playing Christian. You're trying to get him back up to speed, whatever that means. You saw today, he's still got, I mean, he's got ability. He's still a productive, one of your better players on offense. And I think for Shanahan, he probably feels like he's got to get him going, and he trusts him in pass pro. But yeah, Jordan Mason's got just a little juice. Like, I might give him a couple series in a row. Just feed him. Let Christian watch somebody else for a minute. I got a couple in garbage time. Well, I'll admit, garbage time is when I start, preparing for the stream, and I stop going play by play in my notes once we get to garbage time. When did it feel like that game died? Was it on the pick? The Debo interception? It's gotten to the point now I like going to Debo on the return. I've said this since the preseason. I think Ricky Pearsall as your punt returner makes sense. And the reason I think Ricky Pearsall, and they did it today out of necessity because Jacob Cowing's got a concussion. If you've been watching or listening, I've been going to Pearsall on the punt return for a while now. And the reason is because I want him involved in the game. He doesn't get any touches in the offense. Did he get a target today? I didn't think he got a target. I think he got a target. So I like Pearsall on punt return just because I want him active. I want him in the flow. And what did he do? Like? Ricky Pearsall looked like he should be your punt returner, as I thought he would. Debo, you give him the kickoff return, but you just know the penalty. If something good happens, you just feel the penalty coming. Jesus says the game died on the Allen fumble on 1st and 10, down 14. Yeah. I mean, Moody hit his field goal. This is just like so many of the other games they've played where I can just go to the comments and go, you had your moment to start the second half. You didn't score, but neither did they. Defense stepped up. I mean, how many straight I thought they were going to be in major trouble because at halftime, if the defense didn't get my feeling at the half was your defense cannot give up another score because there were only 7 total possessions in the first half. Packers had 4, Niners had 3. Niners scored on their last possession, but if that was going to be the case in the second half, they're down 2 scores. If they're only going to get 3 possessions in the second half, they can't give up a score because they're going to need to score on all 3 of their possessions, take the lead. Well, then it's not what happened. Like the defense, is that what it was? Yeah, it was 4 and 3. Well, yeah, technically they got 4 possessions in the first half, but 1 was just the kneel down. Defense, they gave up a touchdown on the second possession, but they 3-and-out punt after the 49ers turned it over on downs to start the second half. So Debo has the return, you get a holding, they bring it back, very disappointing. You hit Kittle, though, you start moving the ball, you turn it over on downs, very frustrating. But then your defense forces a 3, good defense. Okay. Then the pick happens. Then they score a touchdown. But then you forced a punt and forced another punt. So, I thought that defense to start the second, while it was a game in the second half, they forced 3 punts on short possessions. That was critical, not just to get stops, but to not allow Green Bay, 6-minute drives, which is what they had in the first half. Green Bay had a couple long drives in that first half. Actually, they had 3. They had a 12-play drive, a 10-play drive, and a 12-play drive. Well, listen to this drive chart to start the second half. 3-play touchdown after the interception. 3-play, 3-play touchdown. It looked like it was going to be a do you leave Nick Sorensen in Green Bay type of game, and it didn't turn into that. 49ers turned it over on, 3 of their last 5 drives? Interception, field goal, punt, fumble. The last fumble by then, it was whatever. But 6 targets, 6 catches, 82 yards, sweet touchdown catch. Even the touchdown catch, I think you could see the velocity because it was a really good catch from Kittle. He had to go back up and snag it. But I thought that ball almost got by him. So, now we wait on Brock, knowing that, not feeling, but knowing that 5-6 isn't the death sentence that it feels like for any team. For this team, it feels particularly bad because they look bad. But they need Brock Purdy to have a shot, especially with the way this offensive line struggles to protect. Tony said, is Fred hurt? He looks slow, not as ferocious. Yeah, I mean, remember he had that ankle, and I don't think he's been the same since. When the run game was kind of going there, 3 straight. What's frustrating about this team too is like you can't just watch a game of them at their best and they win or lose, and you go, you know what? At least we got that game. At least we got to watch that high-level game. Have we had that yet? Comment, why not disguise the run and pass play McCaffrey and Mason? McCaffrey as a receiver and blocker and Mason as a runner. Yeah, I am a little surprised that we don't get any two-back sets with those two guys. Just to open things up for either of them. Question from Deborah Guy. Do you think Dobbs with his mobility makes a difference? Early in the game, I thought yes. I do think as the game went on, we did see Brandon Allen's ability to make throws. Not all of them, not to the level that Brock does. But having watched, I go back to just having been at camp and watched a lot of Dobbs and Allen. I think Allen is more accurate. I do think in a desperate spot, the QB mobility and maybe the ability, like if you know immediately that Brock is not, like let's say you know right now or tomorrow, Monday, that Brock is not going to be able to play against Buffalo. I know Kyle really values the guy who can operate his offense the best, which is understandable. But do you go, all right, we got a week. We're going to go with Dobbs this week against Buffalo, and we're just going to throw a curveball here. I know I just do what I do, and that's what everybody knows, and it's good. Offensively, it works. But let's throw a Hail Mary here against Buffalo. Let's scrap it. Let's change everything this week. Not everything, but, Dobbs knows your offense. But let's just add some element of the QB run game that we were working on with Trey. So it's not totally foreign. Like you've spent time with it. And let's incorporate some QB run game, some RPO, some option football, maybe a little wing tee. And let's give let's give Christian the opportunity, because he's playing with a mobile quarterback, to do some stuff that gets him free. Like they are much better knowing right now, Monday, that Brock can't go than doing this song and dance. So like maybe he can, maybe he can't, maybe he can, maybe he can't. Well, game plan for maybe Brock. Friday rolls around, he can't go. Like make that decision now. Get him healthy. Use him to beat Miami and the Bears and focus on that. And go Hail Mary and throw Buffalo a curveball and get Dobbs in there and go QB run game and catch them off guard. Give them something they're not ready for. Comment from Kid Icarus, Packers are not great. Nope, agree. Cool G, Love wouldn't have thrown the pick in the end zone if he didn't already know there were 12 men on the field. That may be. He might have known free play, because you're right. He definitely knew that Campbell didn't get off. So that's probably a fair point. But I still think there was at least one other, if not two other picks out there to be had. But he probably treated that like a free. He did treat it like a free play. I think that's correct. So that's my Sunday night. I thought Brandon Allen handled himself pretty darn well. And I thought he should be QB2 coming out of camp. And I was good with him starting this game. But it's going to get tougher next week. And I think the element of surprise. Now, you could argue if you're going to be without Brock for an extended period, give this guy a chance. Like you think he's QB2, give him a chance to play. He hasn't played. But just behind this offensive line, there's just too many times plays are dead on arrival if your quarterback's not mobile. So I think that's where you have to really consider Dobbs, and it's not because Allen's doing anything wrong. I just think your best shot against Buffalo this week is to throw a curveball. And he's got a broken finger. Where did that come from? Game starts, middle finger in a splint. Thank God the offhand. Of course. Of course. Of course he had a broken finger. I like him. I came away. Yeah, that's what your backup quarterback's supposed to do, is give you a shot. And everybody else has to do their part. And they didn't. Brandon Allen was not the problem today. Yeah. I'll tell you what I'm going to do for some fun this week. This is the part of the show where I tell you about my sponsor, Prize Picks. I appreciate their support, and I appreciate your support. Use the code GUY, make a $5 lineup at Prize Picks, and when you do that, they will immediately put $50 into your account, and you don't have to, no matter you win or lose that first lineup that you make. So I'm going to get after it right now. Here we go. I'm going to go with Derrick Henry. Big Derrick Henry guy. We're going to go Derrick Henry more than half a touchdown. Oh, I got a warning for you guys. You're going to hear this coming up. But I'm going to go Derrick Henry more than half a touchdown on Monday night. The Chargers have the lowest touchdown percentage against opposing rushers this year. They have a very good run defense, but it's Derrick Henry. He's inevitable. I just need one touchdown from him. I'm going to go tight end. Give me Will Dissly more than 3.5 receptions. Okay, for the Chargers. He's had 6 targets for the last 5 games. He's kind of a Justin Herbert safety blanket over the middle. And then I'm going to go with my guy, Herbie Herbs, Justin Herbert. I'm going to get this down. You saw what I hit these arrows if you're watching, and I can get this down to 249.5. More than that, Ravens have a bad pass defense all year. Herbert's heating up. So I got a couple options here. I can either flex play this or power play it. I'm going to flex play it. 50, pays 100. I think all those are very hittable. And now I'm going to make a second lineup. This is so easy at Prize Picks. I'm going to go Lamar. It's always fun to play to involve Lamar here. I'm going to go Lamar more than 1.5 passing touchdowns against the Chargers. Chargers are 11th in opponent touchdowns allowed per game, but they just gave up the 3-touchdown game. You saw that to Burrow. He had 356 passing yards. And, it's a Monday night game. Lamar, MVP candidate, show up, bright lights. We got to go Ladd McConkey, 67.5 receiving yards. Against the Ravens. Ladd's been a Herbert guy. He's kind of trending with Justin. 9 targets, 123 against the Bengals. And I'm going to go Cameron. I always love involving a kicker. I'm going to go Cameron Dicker, the kicker, more than 1.5 field goals made. Let's do this. Let's do 50 here as well. Get that emoji out of here. And that'll be to 250. That'll be a power play. Let's try and hit all 3 on that. That's Prize Picks. The other thing, by the way, they love when I show you guys football because that's what you guys care about. But I will tell you, just a sneaky, I love going to NBA. I love going to rebounds. And I love I just go to low numbers. Like I'll go like whatever, like let's see here. Let me get 2.5 from DeMar DeRozan, 3.5 from Cam Johnson going against him. I can just go 2 guys right there. Let's see. What is that? If I want to go 50. 50 pays. Let's just try that one out. Bam. So it's fun. Prize Picks. Great for Thanksgiving. Tell your friends, tell your family around the Thanksgiving table. What are you thankful for? Code GUY, $5 lineup, get you $50 immediately, whether you win or lose, get you $50 immediately right into your account. Hey, trigger warning for everybody, and shout out, credit to Connor Collins, producer here, for reminding me. So you just saw it in the Prize Picks. Monday Night Football is Ravens Chargers. That means Harbaugh versus Harbaugh. You know what that means, people. Prepare yourselves for Monday Night Football. They will be showing video from Super Bowl 47. So if you, just like anytime Richard Sherman's around, they go like, you going to test me with a sorry-ass receiver? Like, turns out Crabtree wasn't the problem. Crabtree was, of everything they had going there. Anyway, there's going to be clips of Ravens-Niners Super Bowl, Monday Night Football. So just prepare yourself. All right. Super chat from Carl. Allen wasn't the solution. We need to look honestly at our O-line coach, Chris Forrester. Seems to make something out of nothing except for this year. Kyle's not the biggest issue. They drafted a right guard. That's good. They paid a left tackle. That's good. They historically, under Kyle Shanahan, and you go back to Mike, too, Shanahan, they think they don't – I know they got Trent, but they don't do big money offensive linemen, which I think does put a lot of pressure on your offensive line coach. Yeah. Mob Squad with a comment. Silver lining, folks, will finally be free from football terrorist Kyle Shanahan. Do you think he's getting fired? Comment from Indiana Jim. Must be responded. Indiana Jim, you must be responding to somebody else. Travis Hunter isn't the answer to anything. Oh, yeah, he is. But you're not getting him. You're not getting him. Not at this pace. I mean, he's going high. We don't want to. You don't want to. Do we want to? You don't want to. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. If the season ended today, where would the 49ers be drafting? Not as high as you'd like. The Giants, the Panthers, the Cowboys, the Bears, the Saints, the Bucks would all be drafting ahead of them. The Raiders, the Jags, the Patriots, the Titans, the Jets, the Browns, and the Bengals would also be drafting ahead of them, as would the Colts. So what would that? What did I named? I think 14 teams there. So you'd have the 15th pick. Which you can get a good player there. But, if you're going to suffer, you want like the third pick. Now, if they've got the 15th pick, I'll be very excited for the draft when that day comes. But we're not there yet. Niners do play the Bears. Yeah, Niners got. I believe me, I hate myself for telling you this. I do. I hate myself for saying this, especially after a game. And I know the percentage is now like 15% that they make the playoffs. So I am not predicting this. I'm just saying they play the Bears and the Rams after they lose to the Bills. There are some guys I really like in the draft for the Niners. But that's for another day. I talked to a couple scouts this week pregame on the field. And what one of them said to me about Brock Purdy will also be for another day. That's not for this postgame conversation. People are already too angry. You don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that. This is Thanksgiving week, which is great. I love Thanksgiving very much. I will be calling a football game this week as well, which is my alma mater, Fresno State, playing against UCLA on Saturday at the Rose Bowl, where it's going to be a devastating 70 degrees. That'll be Saturday, 12:30 in the Big Ten Network. We'll talk before then. Don't worry. This isn't the only show of the week, but just wanted to share that information with you. And let me see. There were a couple other. Yeah, I think there's some other big picture stuff that we'll do another day. All right. Hey, I do want to mention. I said it the other day, and many of you listened. But the mailbag, we got to get some mailbag episodes coming. I know some of you have questions. There's a really easy way to do it, which is newer. You can still go to I still appreciate the podcast reviews on Apple Podcast. If you give a 5-star review and leave a question, that's cool. But you can just email me, guy@heyguy.co. GUI@HEYGUI.co. heyguy@heyguy.co. Guy@heyguy.co. And email me there. Joe asked who wins the Heisman. I don't know yet, Joe. I've got a vote. I have a vote. And we'll see. We'll see what I vote for. Okay. Thanks for hanging, everybody. Have a great week. Much more to figure out. Maybe Daniel Jones will be on the team by the time we're back together. Carl, Super Chat, when can we hear you and Middle talk again? Come on, guy. Great question. Maybe we'll do something. I don't know. Maybe December will be the time. We'll see. Appreciate you asking. Maybe we'll do something. Okay. I'll talk to you all soon.